Hi everybody, another little look around the cabin. This time I think it's almost ready for winter. You probably see behind me there. I'll move out of the way if you can't see, I guess. The chimney has been installed and the stove is hooked up. I've had one fire already. It seemed to work very good. Today is really too mild to build another fire, but I've bought a new product, a new buywood of the lumber industry here in the province called bio bricks. They're made out of compressed shavings and sawdust and whatever from oak and maple from a large company that mills oak and maple and sells these as firewood, and a lot of people are using them rather than cutting down trees. So I'm going to give it a try anyway and burn a couple of the bricks to see what I think about it before I buy more. But anyway, the chimney has been installed. Perhaps I'll close this video off with a look of smoke coming out of my chimney. Before I give you a look around inside at some of the finishing touches that I've been able to do, I thought I'd give you a look out the door. As you can see, the cabin isn't very far from my hoop house. In the spring I cut down a number of trees that were going to shade the hoop house in summer, and I almost cut down that lovely maple. Glad I didn't now. I couldn't determine at the time whether the summer sun went that far so that it would shade the hoop house, but as it turned out it didn't. The sun starts its trip back in the other direction before it gets there, but I'm glad I didn't cut that down. It's as they always say, you should have seen it yesterday. Well, the color is starting to go by. It's more orange now. It was a flaming red a few days ago. Anyway, let's take a little look around inside the cabin. Sorry if this might appear a bit on the dark side. I'm not using any artificial light, and it is getting into the, I don't know, well, early afternoon. I guess the clock on the wall says 1:30, but the cabin this time of day goes into shade. So anyway, there is the stove set up in its corner, and the stovepipe going up to where it goes out through the wall and joins onto the chimney outside. The one time that I have used it, it drew the smoke out beautifully, and it was 8 degrees outside, and I managed to get it up to 30 in here, a lot like a sauna. So I've got to learn more about how to regulate it and build a smaller fire, hopefully, at least until the real cold weather strikes this winter. I keep having friends give me more cabin warming gifts, I guess you'd have to call them. That little print is of 3 chickens. It's titled in Spanish, half Spanish, half English actually. It says 3 gallinas, and I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but it's more 2 roosters, and I'm 1 rooster, I mean, and 2 hens, but I really like it, and I think it goes nice out here, especially me, who I'm a real chicken fancier. Down in the corner there and around the edges, I think you can probably see where I put the quarter round molding, and that did what I hoped it would do. It covered up some of my mistakes. And there's another gift. Brendan in Northern Ireland, you might recognize that guy. He was an Irish monk in the Middle Ages, and he's considered to be the patron saint of gardeners. A very good friend of mine who is sold her home and unfortunately is moving further away to New Hampshire. She had a large collection of these. She collected them from all over the world, including Ireland when she traveled over there. She had sketches, paintings, little statues and all that sort of thing. That is Saint Fiacre, and he is the patron saint of gardeners, so he's out here to help me with the garden, I guess. I also put the molding around the door and windows. Not a very professional job, no miter cuts or anything like that. Just square, like picture frame cuts around, but it gives it a more finished look. And hanging on the wall here, I've purchased an oil lamp. smaller than I thought it would be. It's made in Europe. The burner part of it is made in France, and the rest I think is made in one of the Eastern European countries. Anyway, it works very well and gives enough light to read by. I've been out and tried that at night. I can sit at the table there and read. And speaking of the table, I'll give you a little look at that here in a second. Once again, my difficulty of getting far enough away here to get a wide-angle shot of anything, but this is just plastic garden furniture. I think it was all dark blue at one time, and a year or so ago I took spray cans to it, painted the chairs red and the table green. This is temporary. On that same location on the wall, hopefully sometime this winter, I plan to make a drop-down table, just a small table that will fold up against the wall, and I don't know, probably on chains or something, that when I let it down, that way it'll give me a little more floor space in here. With the table here all the time, it further restricts the floor space in a small room, so hopefully that will be replaced sometime this winter. And looking down in the further corner again, another gift from a friend was a magnetic knife holder. And I've already had somebody ask if those are for self-protection. They're not. I plan to do some cooking out here, and you need knives, so it's a cheap set of knives that I bought to go with it, but works quite well. It'll store them out of the way where you're not apt to get cut with them. And that's just a little log carrier that I purchased some time ago, and I've finally been able to bring it out here. And those are some of the trees that I just spoke about that I cut down because they were going to shade out the hoop house this summer. So it holds them. It also, the sling that they're in just comes off the holder, and you can go out and load the sling and bring it back in. It makes it easier to carry the logs. And next to that is a box of fat wood. And if you're not from North America, I don't know if you'll know what fat wood is or not. I'll be using it in a few minutes to get the fire started in the stove, but it is a type of pine tree that grows in the southern United States. I'm not sure if it grows further south, like Central America and South America, or not, but it certainly grows in the southern U.S., and near as I can tell, the only thing you'd ever use it for would be fire starters. It has an incredible amount of resin. And these little sticks, I'll get one out of here. They will light just by holding a match to them. They're solid full of resin. Actually, if you open the stove and look in after you've lit one, it's dripping out of them and igniting as it drips out of them. But they're a great fire starter, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, and $6 or $7 for a box of them used. I think you could probably start a fire with one, but no Boy Scout. I use 2 or 3 when I start a fire, but that's what they are, and you'll get to see them in use here in just a minute. One of my recent subscribers, and I also subscribe to him, lives 4 or 5 hour drive north of me in the same province in New Brunswick. And he's posted several videos of his cabin, one that he uses mostly in the winter time, I guess, when he has more time to get to the cabin. But one of his suggestions in his videos was a cabin log book, and I kind of like the idea. So that's what that is, sitting on the table. And I've already got some hen scratch entries that I've made in it, but the idea of the logbook is it just sits here. If you have company or visitors or whatever and they feel like they want to scribble something in the logbook, they can do so. And also I can make little records of various things that I do out here, the first time the stove was lit and all that sort of thing. I think that's an excellent idea. If anybody's watching this and you have your own cabin, I think a little inexpensive logbook sitting on a table somewhere will be something that you'll appreciate years from now, and you can look back over it and read all the entries. And that's a box of bio bricks, 25 pounds of burnable wood per box. And it also says you can, of course, burn the carton that it came in as a fire starter or whatever. It's, as I said before, is a byproduct of the lumber industry here in the province. I paid $4.50 for one box. However, the same place where I purchased it sells it by the pallet, and the prepackaged pallet of it is 75 boxes, $285, and this particular company does free delivery here, so that's $285 plus tax for 75 boxes. If I should decide to do it, that will certainly be enough to last me. I don't tend to live out here. I just want to come out occasionally and have a fire. And I like the idea that I haven't got to use a chainsaw. I do have still quite a bit of wood piled up from those trees that I cut down, but I can cut them up and burn them along with these. But if this works out nicely, I'm thinking I'm going to get at least a pallet of it. Give you an idea what the brick looks like here. I'm not certain what holds it together, because it stipulates on the package that they haven't used any binders or wax or chemicals or anything like that to hold it together. So I don't know if that's just extreme compression and it stays together that way, or what their process is, but it's very dry. It also states that it only produces, I think, 1% ash. So if only 1% of that is left in ash after burning, it would be burn quite a few bricks before you had to clean the stove out. Anyway, let's get the stove going and burn a few bio bricks. The instructions with the bio bricks is to build a fire of kindling wood and let it burn down to hot coals, and then you place the bio bricks on top of the hot coals. So I have a stack of just odds and ends pieces of leftover lumber. I've got a lot of that left over that I can use for kindling wood this winter. And I've got 3 pieces of the fat wood in there, so we'll get that going and use one of these propane, I guess they're propane, fire starter things. It's easier than scratching and holding matches. That gives you an idea of how quickly the fat wood takes light. Anyway, I got to close this up before it starts sending smoke out into the room here, and the smoke detector starts going off. We'll come back after I've got the bed of coals and we'll add some bio bricks to it. Well, the instructions are, once you have a bed of coals, is to lay your bio bricks in on top of it in a tight pattern. I suppose they mean 3 or 4 bricks, a couple of layers high or whatever, but I don't intend to burn that much today. I just wanted to see what they burn like. So I've got a couple in my hands here. I'll see what I can do, either side by side or on top of each other in there. Well, they're in there anyway. We'll close it up and come back in a few minutes and see if they're burning well. Well, it's been roughly 15 minutes and they're just starting to catch nicely. When I first opened the door, I could see some nice blue flames coming out from under them. I don't know how long it will burn, and today is not a very good day to be doing the test anyway. It's quite warm outside, but I'll have a couple of more fires with this before I decide whether or not to buy some. But I've been doing some calculating on the prices and whatever while I've been sitting here. This cost me $4.50 for the 25-pound box. But if you take the bulk order, which is 75 boxes, it goes down to $3.80 a box. $285 for the 75 boxes, plus tax, of course. And I was just calculating the weight. That's 1,875 pounds of very dry, hard wood, and I'm sure that would do me a long time, because as I've said, I don't intend to live out here. I just want to come out occasionally and have a nice fire. Anyway, that's bio bricks burning. I'll give you a little look now at smoke coming out my chimney, and then we'll close this down for the day. Well, that's disappointing. The stuff burns so clean, there's hardly any smoke coming out. I can barely see it, and I'm sure the camera isn't picking it up at all. Anyway, that's a little look at the outside of the cabin, and trust me, there is a fire in the stove. I'm looking forward to seeing this scene later on with snow all around it. I think it'll look much nicer. I'm just about finished, as I've said, inside for the season. I'm sure I'll find some things to putter away at in there over the winter, but in the spring I want to stain the outside, and I want to build a small deck out in front of it. Right now I just have a couple of blocks of wood that I have to step on to get up into the cabin, but I want to put a little deck in front of it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. That's the latest little update on the cabin. Probably the next one I'll be in there in a snowstorm and you'll be able to see snow coming past the windows. Thank you for watching.